Hey everyone, welcome back to Verified Gains. Happy Monday. We are approaching mid-May 2025, about 4 months away from the proposed Bitcoin cycle top. So I'm very excited. But that being said, let's go over the markets very quickly. So in terms of Bitcoin, we see that we are in fact, above the $98,000 mark. Great progress. I'm going to go ahead and flip this to support. However, we are rejecting hard off the next resistance line, which is $106,000. Let's take a look at the Pi cycle top indicator. If anything, we're going to retest the 98,000 before we draw down to the 111-day moving average. Right now, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But that said, we'll see how hard this rejection here is. In terms of comparing it to the traditional equities market, there seems to be a little bit of dissonance because here NASDAQ is forming a green candle, is doing, and S&P 500, very similar story. And the main driver here is that the trade wars are cooling off. US and China are in talks, and people are taking that as a bullish news. So we'll see. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance very quickly. So from the high of about 65%, we continue to draw down. And I think a lot of this has to do with the altcoins doing very well. Now, the big question, the $1 million question is this the start of alt season? I think it is a local quote unquote alt season, but I don't think this is the altcoin season that everybody is, looking out for, which is, where we see exponential explosive movements that largely outweigh the Bitcoin's price action. I don't think we're there yet. And I've said this in my previous videos also, and it's mainly because we have not hit Bitcoin cycle top yet. Okay, the real alt cycle, the real alt season will start after the Bitcoin cycle top. So it might be a local alt season like what we're seeing over here, like end of November 2024, but I don't think we're there yet where we're going to see a continued Bitcoin dominance drop below 44.00%, which would actually indicate the alt season that we're looking for. Okay. Moving on, let's look at Solana. Pretty similar picture to Bitcoin, where we are flipping this, resistance line into support at $148. Like I've said before, the next step is breaking through $180, and looks like we had a strong rejection off of the $180 resistance line. So we'll see if we break above it. Now, once we break above it and consolidate, that's going to be a great price entry for dollar cost averaging. Let's look at POPCAT, my favorite meme coin. So we're holding levels above 35 cents pretty well. Looking back at it, hindsight is 2020. Well, guess what? My hindsight was 2020 at the time, or rather my sight, my vision was 2020 at the time. Basically the whole trade war that was the local bottom. We've been doing quite well since beginning of April. Over the past 1 month or so, we've basically seen a 200+% increase, which is amazing. I mean, how much is it exactly? 449%. Okay. And full transparency, I did not buy at the absolute bottom. I was mainly dollar cost averaging between 17 cents and over here, 35 cents. My average cost basis for the second wallet is around 21, 22 cents. But even then, I've done, nearly 200% since. So things are going pretty smoothly for PopCat. And if you haven't watched my video yet on the reason why I bought more PopCat that was published about a month ago, please go watch that. And you should be thinking to yourself, man, if I haven't subscribed, if I'm not watching these videos as soon as they're coming out, I'm really missing out big time. And lastly, I actually want to take a look at Dog with Hat. We haven't been giving Dog with Hat much attention, but I go on social media, especially, crypto Twitter X, and people are becoming more and more bullish. And guess what? We finally broken above $1. I mean, how long have you been waiting for this? Since the breakdown back in February. So it's been a while, but here we are, back above $1. So, do I have as much dog with hat as I do POPCAT? No, not as nearly as much because POPCAT, I nearly doubled my holding. Actually, no, I stand corrected. I doubled my hold past 1 month. Dog with hat, I really haven't bought since way back when. Anyways, that's all the update that I have, and my thoughts on the alt season. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please post down below. But if you're into Solana, PopCat, or Dog with Hat, please make sure to subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching and thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.